These are some of my Grandpa Irving's tools. From the first time I saw them when I was a kid, I hoped they'd be my inheritance. They were all I wanted. I didn't want the diamonds this big from out of my bubby's ear. From you, she'd say, if you're good. They cost me, she'd tell me every time she saw me, a pretty penny. I didn't want her jewelry, I didn't want the sterling silver. All I wanted were these tools, these ancient precision calipers that can measure anything within a hair's breadth now. Now this one is called a veneer. You ever seen these things? Anybody here machinist? Yes, no? No? You can talk to me, I can see you. Okay. This one was designed to measure with tremendous precision, if you look at it carefully, the inside and outside dimensions of a cylinder. My grandfather was a machinist. He was a tool and die maker. He made a fortune during the Depression inventing the tools with which they made gold watch cases. They never saw a Jew, he'd say, with hands like these. He retired in the 50s. He went on to do taxes, real estate, commodities. But all along, he always had these hands of genius. I once watched him repair one of those fancy wooden Father's Day shoehorn things, with the brass lion on one end, the brass shoehorn thing on the other. You or I would have just stuck some Elmer's glue in the thing, thrown it away when it didn't stick. But my grandfather Irving used this micrometer to measure drill bits, with which he made holes the perfect size for these long, skinny brass screws. And then he used another tool to measure the threads on the screws to make sure they fit the threads on these tiny brass nuts, which he put on either end of the screw, which he cut to fit, which put the brass lion back where it belonged. And I said to him, Grandpa, do you think, once you no longer have any need for these tools, do you think maybe I could have them? Yeah, I know. Why don't I just say, Grandpa, when you die, can I have your tools? But my grandfather is so timid about his own mortality that ever to speak of it directly, you just don't do that. And he looks at me, his aging girl grandchild, who by right should have given him great-grandchildren by now. What in God's name do you want from them, these tools? Well, Grandpa, they're beautiful. They're a treasure. You could teach me to use them. They're you. A couple months later, my grandfather sold his tools to a collector in Newark, New Jersey for $250. My dad called to break the news. He knew I wanted the tools. He was worried I might see them in a window in Newark, New Jersey and get upset. Not that I spend all that much time window shopping in Newark, New Jersey. So I called the guy who bought the tools. I arranged to visit him in Newark, New Jersey. And I buy them back. $2,737 cash. Now that's a pretty penny. You see, these tools, these precious tools, my grandfather practically gives away. The family photos, all the old ones, I salvaged from the garbage during a particularly savage spring cleaning. It was a good thing I was there. Grandpa was throwing them all away. He doesn't want any of this stuff around. So, I got the tools, half my life savings, but I got them. I got the photos. You want to know something? I changed my mind. I want the jewelry. I want the sterling. I want the china figurines, the teacups with roses. I want it all. But most of all, I want this guy, Louie. Grandpa always says very proudly that he was born in England, Manchester, England. It's the gloomiest industrial town in the whole British Isles, but it has an exotic Goyish ring to it. Tea parties on the lawn with Winston Churchill, to whom my grandfather bears a striking resemblance. But the truth is that Manchester was just a stopping place en route from Kiev to the United States, and Grandpa's family, like so many, many families, was coming here to start a new life. We don't talk about old life don't exist. We start new life. They just needed to get here, get a job, learn the language, and move on. No stories, no warning. It was shitty, now it's over. That's what they needed to do. in the suburbs of Southern California. Alien child of alien parents. Looking, longing, always in flight. I'm a dark soul with a sordid past. I don't even know